Welcome back. I'm Neil Chase, author of Iron Dogs and writer-director of the upcoming feature film, Contamination. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I came across a post on Instagram by somebody I don't normally follow called Michael Hansen. And I really thought this was very interesting. Now, normally I get all kinds of content on my Instagram feed, mostly related to my personal interests. So it tends to be things about writing, filmmaking, movies, cats, and the occasional post about AI. Now, what's interesting about this is it's kind of a mix of most of those things, cats not included. The topic was what filmmaking looks like in 5 years. And I thought this would be a really interesting topic to discuss today. So I thought I'd give a little reaction video on my thoughts over this post. So grab your popcorn. Let's get started. So if we look at this very first slide, it just says, what filmmaking looks like in 5 years. The next 5 years will be insane for filmmakers. Filmmaking will change. Business will feel lost. It's inevitable. But here are 9 predictions you should be preparing for. And I thought right away, this is very topical, especially in my line of work. There are a lot of people in my industry in particular, both in terms of literature and filmmaking, who are very nervous about AI. I see this as a double-edged sword. One where there's potential for a lot of good and potential for a lot of bad. It all depends on the applications. So let's take a look at what Michael has to say on this. All right, so point number 1, he says, AI-generated actors and artificial production will dominate 80% of brand content. Old habits will die hard. Top agencies will still want to keep as much of the pie as possible. AI productions are flawless, scalable, and on demand. No day rates, no delays, no drama. If you shoot talent, understand, you're not just competing with other filmmakers, you're competing with pixels. This is something that's really caught on, especially just in the last few weeks. We've seen these videos popping up where it seems almost flawless. There are characters, AI-generated characters, totally CG. These are not real people. And they're talking about things like how they are computer generated and sort of the discovery of the characters within these worlds, discovering the fact that they are CG. And what strikes people about it is just how realistic they are. And it really does lend credence to this idea that very, very soon we'll be using AI generated actors. Maybe not completely AI generated. Maybe it'll be like a deepfake situation where we're using CG replacements for real actors in things like stunt work. We're already seeing this, let's be honest. This is already a thing. But I think it might go up one other level to now having performances be CG as well as based on actual actors. How can I see this being used in the short term? Well, say for example, an actor gets sick or hurt during production and for whatever reason can't complete their filming. CG based on AI might be used to input that person's performance and performance history, and then the script and their role up to that point. And whatever is left to film, they might fill in the dots. Or say an actor passes away, which has happened in the past. Let's be honest. 1993's Crow is a perfect example of this. When Brandon Lee passed away and they had to use body doubles, rudimentary CG at that point, and some special effects to try and compensate for having a couple of shots that weren't filmed yet while he was still alive. Something like AI would bridge that gap quite nicely, in my opinion, and you could get a completed performance with some additional scenes where it's the actual actor, or at least their likeness, performing the function. Now, where this goes off the rails and goes into that negative territory is the idea of actually replacing real human actors with AI. And that's the thing that makes people very, very nervous. And for obvious reasons. You're taking away people's jobs, you're creating what's already a beset industry, and you're making it even harder for people to make a living. But on the other hand, I can understand it from an economics standpoint. The idea that you don't have to pay people, you simply pay a programmer or somebody who's well versed in inputting prompts, because really that's what it comes down to. You pay that person And it's really you're paying one person instead of an entire cast and crew of people. But we'll get to that in a second. Number two, the creative tools will become open to all. Over the next 5 years, the barrier to entry will continue to get lower and lower. Creative tools will become fully democratized. The kids running around with 8K cameras undercutting you, that's about to be on steroids. Imagine when it's $27 a month. SaaS tools instead of a $5,000 camera kit to get started. Yes, this is definitely something that is coming. I don't think we can ignore the fact that AI is already democratizing the system. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's creating a more level playing field where you have big studios with very expensive, big budget equipment versus somebody making movies in their backyard with their friends. With the advent of AI, big sets, big stunts, heck, even big stars, let's be honest, don't matter as much anymore because you can just generate them on your computer. Now, there is that whole idea of using someone's likeness without their permission, and I absolutely agree with that should never be the case, and anybody who tries that should be soundly routed out. But there won't be anything preventing somebody from having, say, for example, an Independence Day style scene where you have giant motherships blasting lasers towards a cityscape. Today, it takes thousands of CG artists to create that scene, both using composite and real footage and all of these things. The proper AI prompts, you could create something very similar to that with a look that pretty much matches the real deal. So, yeah, that's going to be a huge change. And nobody can convince me that studios won't capitalize on this in a big, big way. Because if you only have to pay 5 people to do the job of 1,000 people, there's no big production that won't do this on some level. And certainly, small time filmmakers will use this because they simply don't have the money to pay a lot of people. And so people are going to just be coming up with stuff, on their own home computer. Number 3, technical skills will become a downfall, not an edge. When everyone can produce masterpieces with the right prompt, 10,000 hours behind a camera loses leverage. What will give leverage? The quality of your insights, your style, your taste, your perspective. Those who see patterns before others do and draw upon the best data points to build from will dominate. This is also something I agree with. I think that having a system in place where you can get a handful of people or even one person to do the job of many, what it's going to do is it's going to make that one person indispensable and it's going to make everybody else redundant. It's just an unfortunate fact. This is very similar to when cars replaced horses. Think about it. We had a situation where horses were plentiful. We had horses in carriages or people riding horses, wagons being pulled by horses, that sort of thing. They were an indispensable animal that was used in everyday life. Then the car came along and you could get around a lot faster than you could with a horse. You didn't have to feed it. You didn't really have to take care of it in the same way that you did a live animal. Animals grow old, they die. You need to buy a new one. You need to raise one. You need to raise young ones. That sort of thing. You need to feed them. You need to groom them. You need to take care of them. You need to house them. You need to stable them. You need to have horseshoes for them. You need to have saddles. You need to have harnesses. You need to have wagons for them to pull. That's a lot of things versus this one self-contained device that will get you to and fro just as likely. Now, a lot of people fought against cars in the beginning because they were noisy, they were dirty, they spewed all this toxic gas into the air and made everything unclean. Horses were quiet, they would just clip-clop, and they're beautiful animals and they're much more pleasant to the eye. But efficiency always wins out. What started out as something for the rich, because only the rich could afford cars, eventually became something for the commoner. And if you think about it, it even flipped, where nowadays horses are for the rich and cars are for the poor. Kind of gives you a little bit of insight where AI might be headed. Number 4, trust will become the ultimate currency. He says, we talked about this just yesterday. I don't know about that. I didn't see the post. The AI era will bring a crisis of truth. Deepfakes are already getting close. It's about to 100 times. Fake ads, fake DMs, fabricated end-to-end, your story, your personal brand, they will become your proof of existence. It will humanize you in a world of machines. This is also, I think, pretty important in the advent of AI. When you have a system that's built on everything being generated by a computer through prompts, it means that everything you see, everything you hear is essentially fake. This will bring those things that are real to become a premium. These are the things that will become more cherished. Movies that are made where all the stunts are done by real people, movies that are done where all the actors are real people, movies that are made where the writing was done by a real person and the camera work was done by real people. Those types of films are going to become much, much rarer. And not just films, commercials, TV shows, any kind of digital content. They're going to become much rarer. I think at best we're going to see hybrids because it will just be too expensive to make something that's 100% real because it won't be able to compete. It won't look as good as the AI generated content. There might still be people making old-fashioned movies, let's call it old-fashioned, but because AI is so slick, because it looks so good and it's only going to look better and better. I mean, think about it. Think about the way AI looked just 5 years ago, just 2 years ago, versus how it looks now. It's stunning, the difference year by year, how much better it gets. We're going to get to the point where month by month, week by week, it's going to get better. Until it comes to this point where you simply won't be able to tell the difference between real life and AI generated content. Where does that put real filmmaking? You know, using real people, real skills. That's going to be the record shops in today's world. You know, where you go and buy an old-fashioned vinyl record, and these things cost money, and people are willing to pay them because they love the sound, the scratchiness of the vinyl records. They love to hear the pops and the scratches because it gives it an extra layer of life. It'll be the same thing for real film versus AI generated content or film that's made with AI generated content. These will be purely specialized for those connoisseurs who love this kind of content. Much like in today's world, there are still people who prefer to watch movies made on film stock, versus those that are made digitally. It's a very small segment of the population. The demand isn't huge, and I think moving forward, the demand for real content won't be huge, but it will be very much more appreciated. Number 5, there will be more millionaire solo creatives than agencies within 3 years. One person, 5 refined AI agents, the output of a 25-man studio. The future success will come from a re-architecturing of businesses as we know them. A mindset shift from how do we scale humans to how do we scale decisions, creativity, and action with machines. And this just goes to what I was already talking about. You know, if you can have one person doing the job of 25 people, there is hardly a business on this planet that won't sign up for that because that is just simple economics. But what it does say is that that one person will be key. That one person will be so much in demand, they'll be able to write their own check. And in a business as large as this, it doesn't have to be one person. There will be a generation of people who will be skilled at this. Essentially, filmmaking by using AI. Now, that can mean, I don't think it's going to be one person creating the entire movie through AI. I think that would be a colossal task at best. I think it will be a small group of people, each tasked with their own portions of that film. But it's coming. Number 6, the 10K a month human tripod will die. That comfort zone will evaporate. The 10K to 20K per month filmmaker with no system, no scale, and no clear strategy will get crushed. AGI won't ask for revisions or direction. It will just work and improve relentlessly. If the value you bring is execution, you're on a timer. Build strategy, build systems, sell the transformation. Now, this is an interesting point I feel he's making. I know a lot of people who are on this current filmmaking model. This is kind of a staple of the business, especially where I live. But I feel like any place that has a film industry of any kind probably has filmmakers using this model, which is to say, you are selling your skills on a per job basis, whether that's for a movie, a commercial, a TV show, training videos, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Customer comes to you with a need, You sell your services as a writer, filmmaker, camera person, actor, whatever the case may be. And you are making content for them. Again, this will be client driven more than it will be filmmaker driven. The change is coming. If clients figure out that they can get something that looks like it cost $100 million, but it's only going to cost them $5,000 to make, what do you think is going to happen? Number 7, the creative economy will split into artists and operators. The artists will cling to craft as purists. The operators will master leverage, infrastructure, and outcome. Clients won't fund a pursuit of passion. They will invest in outcomes. This is brand storytelling, not Hollywood. You either build a scalable system or waiting to be replaced by one. You're either building a scalable system or waiting to be replaced by one. This goes towards also what I'd already mentioned. The purists, the artists, the ones who will refuse to change and say, I will keep doing it the way I've always done it. The only thing I might change is the type of camera equipment I use or the editing software I'm using in post. Maybe even the screenwriting software I'm using to write my scripts. But I refuse to use a system where I will be prompting specific shots or scenes or things like this into a computer and waiting for it to spit things out. I refuse to do that. That's their prerogative. That absolutely, if you're one of these people, that is absolutely your prerogative. And I support you 100% because I know what it's like to make my own movies. There is a joy to it. There is such a wonderful feeling that you get from writing your own scripts, acting in front of a camera, directing actors from behind the camera, framing your shots, going take after take to get that one perfect performance. There's a beauty in it and a joy. So I understand 100% anybody who fights back against this. But you have to understand the people who are going to be using this are not necessarily filmmakers. They are not looking at it the way you are. They are looking at it as purely business-driven decision. Something that costs less, but looks as good as, if not better, than a lot of the content made by real people. It's a hard truth, but it's like cars and horses. Number 8, visual simulation will trap most creatives in false progress. The dopamine addiction of our space will only accelerate. AI will get to a point where it will let you simulate work, achievement, purpose, and it'll feel real. You'll feel busy, but nothing will move. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake the veneer of feedback loops for results. Now, this is something that's really interesting, and I'm not exactly sure what he was getting at here, other than to say you can create any scenario you want with AI. And when I think of this as a writer, as a filmmaker, as a creator, man, the potential for going down a rabbit hole is so big with this. It's kind of an abuse system, really, when you think about it, but not really. It's like self-abuse. In the sense of, here's what I'm thinking. As an indie filmmaker, you might never make it. You might never make the big times. Nobody will ever call your name on that Oscar stage. You'll never receive an award. You'll just keep plugging away, making small movies, making commercial work, things like this, music videos, but you might never ever see the big time. So what's holding you back using an AI prompt saying, I want to see a video of me giving an acceptance speech at the Oscars and every one of the people that I admire is standing there giving me a standing ovation? What's stopping you from doing that? Nothing. And I think more and more people in general will fall prey to this. A kid that wants to see himself catching the football to win the touchdown at the Super Bowl. A kid that wants to see herself dancing on stage and Broadway. Totally can see that. You'll be able to see yourself doing things that you could only imagine doing. What's more so, this opens up that can of worms of where does film go in a system where you can see anything you want with the right prompt. Number 9, brand and storytelling will be the only two sustainable currencies. The next 5 years won't be about being a useful tool. AI will handle that. It's about becoming irreplaceable. Like I said already. What do you know that no one else does? What can you build that's truly your own? What story are you willing to bleed for? The new AI economy rewards thinkers, builders, and leaders. This is the thing that I see, where the marriage of AI and humanity will really excel. Those of us who are the storytellers, we are the ones who will triumph in this new age of AI. See, AI is just a machine. And like any machine, it can only spit out what's been put into it. So AI is a learning algorithm, a very, very good one, incredibly fast, incredibly malleable, but it can only give you essentially a copy or an amalgamation of something that's already been done by someone else. What it can't do, at least not yet, is generate original ideas, generate original stories, generate original characters, generate original dialogue. It can only give you mashups of things that have come before, that have been inputted into it. So it can emulate style, it can emulate voice, it can emulate ideas that have come before, but it can't come up with its own. It simply isn't able to do that, at least not yet. And until that time comes, the artistic portion, the human element, still belongs to us, to humans. And it makes those of us who are real storytellers, I think, makes us utterly indispensable in the future. Because the only thing that's going to set films apart, think about this, the only thing that's going to set movies apart is story. It is not going to be budget. It is not going to be stunts. It is not going to be special effects. It is not going to be set pieces. It's not going to be locations, time periods. It's not even going to be big names, because all of these things will be accessible to anyone. Anyone who's good at prompting will be able to generate this on their own. What they will not be able to generate is a great story. All they'll be able to do is just copy the stuff that's already come before. Maybe just repackage it in a new shiny veneer and sell that out. This brings me to where I think films are going in the future. Think about movies that you love. Right now, the Mission Impossible movies in theaters, for example. Tom Cruise is unbelievable. He does the most incredible for real life stunts there are. The man is honestly a legend in this industry, simply because he's willing to put his actual life on the line for the movies that he's in, and it looks spectacular. It's amazing. And when you think about it, what makes it amazing is the fact that it is real. We know that it's real. It's not fake. It's not some CG cartoon. You know, you take a look at a scene like Tom Cruise riding a motorcycle over a cliff so that he can parachute down the rest of the way, versus a scene like, I don't know, just off the top of my head, in Black Panther, where the two characters are fighting and it's a purely CG fight on a CG background. Everything about it was CG. It was completely fake. One has real life stakes where you actually get nervous watching it and tense, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he actually did this. Versus, okay, I'm watching a cartoon and it's like, it's fun and it's exciting, but I'm not feeling that trepidation. I'm not feeling that tension. I'm not scared for either character because they're falling a mile down a giant hole in the ground. Who cares? It's not real. And I think that's the thing that AI is going to bring to the table, is going to be more of that feeling of it's not real. It's just a cartoon. It's just CG. It's fake. But what it'll also open up is the idea that, hey, do you want to be the star of the next Mission Impossible movie? Do you want to be the star of a classic film like Rocky? Do you want to be in a classic rom-com? There's nothing holding people back in the future from doing exactly that. And I think some studios will even capitalize on that and say, hey, you can be in this next movie. You can be the star of it. And they'll take it even a step further, where it'll probably be interactive, so that you don't even have to make the same decisions those characters made. Now you can make your own decisions and you can take the story wherever you want. It'll basically become a video game of sorts that's a merging of video game and movie technology. That's at least how I see it. Now, the flip side to that is is that it's not real and it won't feel real. Where Michael says this isn't about fear, it's about clarity. The next 5 years will break the lazy and build the ones who move. I agree with this. It is about clarity. It's about being realistic about what's coming down the pipeline because it's already here. The Pandora's box has been opened and there is no shoving the genie back into it. I know I'm mixing analogies here, but the point is the same. For good or bad, it's here and it's only going to get more effective at what it does. I could say it's only going to get better at what it does, but better is a loaded term because a lot of people are going to say it's only going to get worse. So I'll say it's only going to get more effective because that's true. So it seems to me that there's a real potential for real filmmakers, real actors, real storytellers to take advantage of this because the difference between big studios and indie is going to evaporate within the next 5 years. You'll have indie filmmakers out of their basement making something that's on par with the biggest movies made today. And I think in some cases, they'll probably do a better job. The only way the studios, the mids, the bigs, heck, even the littles are going to be able to compete against one another in this purely democratized system is through story. Story is key moving forward for anything that's done. I don't care if it's a commercial. I don't care if it's a training video. I don't care if it's a music video, and especially if it's a TV show or a movie. The story will be key because that is the one thing, the only thing that's going to differentiate the players on the board. So the days of the writer being the bottom of the totem pole are over. And believe me, I know firsthand all about that. There's been times where the writer is quite literally the most ignored, undervalued person on that set. And this is true pretty much of any set. Unless you're some big name writer, nobody gives a damn about you. Nobody really cares, let's be honest. Because that's the person that usually gets paid the least. That's the person that's usually underappreciated the most. And yet without them, that movie would not even exist. That is about to be amplified by about 1 million times in the next couple of years. Because that writer is going to be the one person who's utterly indispensable. Everybody else will be utterly interchangeable. So buckle your seats. There's a change coming. So this really just underscores how important the writing process and storytelling in general will be in the future. And if you're a storyteller and you want to be on the leading edge of that, then follow this channel because I'll be talking more about this and about the services that I provide for people like you. And I want to thank Michael for his posts, which started the topic of today. This was a totally unscripted piece that I did today. I normally have a template that I like to follow, but I really just wanted to riff on this topic because I thought it was so noteworthy and timely. But please, guys, follow Michael Hansen on Instagram, on YouTube. I've shared the links below to his channels. He seems like a really great guy, and he's got some other really great insights on his channels. In the meantime, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. Until next time, stay creative.